Hello, my name is Jesse Ward and I'm a tutor for the Diploma of Animation Level 6 at Yoobee College's Rotorua campus, and I do a lot of work in Toon Boom Harmony. So I'm just going to take you through some of the basics of Toon Boom and give you an overview of what a build is and what it looks like to make a build on Toon Boom.
So first of all, I just want to create a new scene. So I'll call this one build, and to create scene. And then I'll just go over the very bare basics of how to put it together because it's quite involved. So I'm going to go to here, this window here where it says animating. I'm going to change that to compositing just so I can get a better view of what I'm trying to do. Okay, here we go. Now, what we have here is we have a few windows that will help us, and if you click on the plus sign in any of these windows, you can create another window. So right now we're looking at the camera, the mode view, and the timeline. This is the animation timeline, and this is just like what you have on any video editing software. It just shows the footage in the film. The node view is quite unique to Toon Boom in that you use it quite extensively compared to other animating software. It is basically depends on how you're using Toon Boom. If you're using it traditionally to do traditional animations, you're going to have one node, which might be called drawing, or you might want to give it the name of a character that you're animating. And then you're just going to frame by frame go through and create a animation on one drawing, and it's going to flip over. So I'll show you that in a bit more detail. So if you click on the plus sign here and go down to X sheet, then the drawing node has turned into a X sheet, and there's 78 frames there. And you just want to go through one, two, three. Well, in fact, you can do it that way, or I think a better way to do it is with odd numbers. So you go the 1, 3, 5, just so that if you go into another frame rate, you can fix it easily. 7, 9, and they're going to appear here. You want to make sure that you double down on it. 7, 9. They're going to also appear down the timeline. So there's a direct correlation between the X sheet and the timeline. They are in sync with each other. There's also a correlation between the X sheet and the node view. So if you go to node view, this is the drawing in the node view. And what you'll be doing if you choose to do it this way is you will just get a pencil tool at the top here, and you'll probably a good idea to shift this to a drawing window. So you've got camera and drawing, and they're very similar windows. Both of them are windows where you can onion skin and see the drawing. And you'll just do your animation here, turn on the onion skin, which will be over here, and go through and animate as you normally would. It's a very silly, simple circle. So, but I wanted to focus a little bit more not on that aspect. So I'm just going to delete the drawing. I just want to go over briefly the builds. And that is a little bit different, and that's really what Toon Boom is very powerful with. So if you change one of these windows, you click on the plus sign and select a different window, you want to select the library. So, and you want to come here where it says Harmony Premium Libraries, and you want to right click and say Write to Modify. Now, for some reason, you have to say Write to Modify in order to use files that are in the Toon Boom library. So I've already got a few images here. I have this one called Dennis, and I have this one called Moira Casual. And these are just pieces of characters. So I'm going to bring this out here. And it's going to ask you if you want to replace the palette. And it's just going to, with artificial intelligence, it's going to identify the colors in the palette and the images that you've chosen. And I'll show you what those images are after I confirm this. So, see, this is the character now. As you see, the arms are disembodied from the rest of the character, and it's divided into pieces, because these are the pieces that make up your puppet. All right? So you can, on Illustrator or on other imaging software, use pre-divided images. So you can use images that are already divided by the limbs. And here with this character, I have it divided by arm, ear, hand, head, lower leg, leg 2, neck. So just all the different parts of the body that are going to move, that's what you're kind of creating. So if I was to use this one, this Moira rig, I would be drawing over all of the limbs that I want to be separate from each other. I'll just be retracing over them so that I can get an idea of how the character is going to move. But if I'm using Dennis, where I already have the character's limbs divided up, then that's less work for me to do. So I'll just, first of all, just select these and click on this button here, because it's going to make it a little bit easier. There we go, divided it up a little bit for me. And what I want to do is I want to organize different parts of the body separately. So I have arms, hands, and then the head's going to be over here, nose, anything related to the head, ear is going to be over here, and anything related to the legs is going to be over here, upper leg, lower leg, upper leg, 1, so, and then torso, sunglasses is here, make sure that it belongs with the legs, so we're going to divide everything like that, arms, and then neck will be with the head. Sorry if I'm going too fast, I'm trying to fit in a lot of information into this. So once you've divided everything out, where it should go, I'm going to bring this. Divide it into head, torso, arms, and legs. Then you create a little hierarchy. So, okay. We go over this here, or I could sort of, if I can find a pre-done version. So we've got a pre-created version here with Dennis, and I've already finished it. So rather than going through the whole thing, I'll just kind of shortcut to what it's going to look like and what I would have done. And this is in fact the Dennis character. So as you can see, I've created these backdrops here. I've done this by clicking on these 3 lines in Insert, Backdrop. And these are basically just little folders in my node view so that I can see where everything's kept. This controls the head. This backdrop's going to control the head. So when I click on head, it's going to highlight his head. Click on torso, it's going to highlight, hopefully it's going to highlight his torso. Oh, this bit's not highlighted. Okay, that's kind of highlighted. Click on arms, highlight the arms, and legs, it'll highlight the legs. And this is because I've organized it in such a way where everything's in place, and I can now access the different parts of his body. And to help you understand the hierarchy, I'll just show you what that is. So basically, this node is a peg, and you create a peg by saying Control P, or by punching Control P into the keyboard. And this is what you're animating. You don't want to animate the drawings. So the green represents the pegs. So any green node is a peg, and any blue node will be the drawing itself. You don't want to animate the drawings. You just want to focus on the peg. So if I click on this peg, this says neck dash head. And this will control the neck peg and the head peg. So if I select this, I can animate it like a puppet. So I'm going to select this neck, I can move the neck and head to and fro. If I select the head, I can move the head to and fro. As I go down the hierarchy, if I go further down the hierarchy to this peg, it's going to isolate the sunglasses. It can animate the sunglasses. And then the nose, and then anything else that is on the face. So it's just create this composition here. Making sure that when you are not animating, this button here is on animate off, and make sure that when you do create your pegs and when you do create your build, that you pay attention to this here. This is a center point. And if you click on this button on the side that says translate, or press Alt-2, you can shift the position of the center point. And this is the point which each limb of your character is going to pivot from. So if I click this select transform Shift T button, now this image is rotating because I'm telling it to, and it's rotating from this pivot point here. So you just need to, as you do your build, you need to keep in mind where the pivot rotates. This pivot point is in the wrong place. This is the hand pivot point. I need to click on this. I need to make sure that the hand pivots from where it should be pivoting. So go back here, the select tool. So the hierarchy should look something like this. You can actually find builds online that give you an idea of the hierarchy. But basically, if you want two limbs to move at once, then you need to consider where the peg goes. So the upper leg is going to control the lower leg, upper leg 1 peg. We also have an upper leg peg that does not correlate with the lower leg, which could be useful. So if I go down here, the upper leg 1 peg, and then the upper leg 1 peg controls both the upper leg and the lower leg. As I go down the hierarchy, the lower leg controls the shoe, and then the shoe is just controlled by itself. This is very important when it comes to animating. So that's just a basic rundown of what you're trying to create when you're doing a rig on Toon Boom or a build on Toon Boom. Try to think about where the hierarchy is. As you're creating your build, take the time to make sure that the pivot points are all in the correct place, and just copy builds that you see online. They can get very, very elaborate. They don't need to be, but they can be very elaborate. I would say this is a comparatively simple one. And the reason that they're elaborate is because builds with Harmony are often used on TV shows, and the characters in the builds are frequently used for a long period of time. So some TV shows are, of course, I think hundreds of hours nowadays. So to prevent people having to redraw the character over and over again, you just have this kind of puppet system. And it's basically a puppet show. If I go to the timeline, you can see the actual effects of the animation, but that's a conversation for another day. This is animating, this is going into different territory. So thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully you get into Toon Boom because it's a really interesting software. It does a lot, but it is a steep learning curve, and it's quite difficult to learn. However, a lot of people do learn it faster than other people, and I think that the node view makes things quite clear. So just have a look at what builds people have done, observe the hierarchy, observe where everything is, and have fun.